Folks, with Tacitus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the hysterical barrage at all levels, from propaganda directed at 3-year-old children right through the anti-white hysterical propaganda that we see around the place, and it's a barrage. It's a wall of lies. It's not just bits and pieces here and there. It's coordinated. It's funded lavishly and generously funded. It's clearly centrally planned and scripted and coordinated, and it is a wall, a barrage of never-ending propaganda at all levels, and every sort of electronic device that you look at that gives out information, you will be seeing that propaganda. And I just wanted to sort of have a little look at this. That there's one that I saw. It came into a feed of an online movie subscription thing that I'm looking at, and it popped in there. I thought, what the fuck's that doing there? And I should be filtering it out, but it looks like they're trying to bypass the filters just to make sure more people see it. So even that's coordinated to try and get maximum spread and penetration of the propaganda. So now, for anyone who's even minimally aware, you can spot the propaganda pretty much straight away. So the opening scenes, which go for a couple of minutes, I guess, just swastikas, Nazi salutes, swastikas, more Nazi salutes, more swastikas, more Nazi salutes, Confederate flag, the ominous music, by the way, all the time, with a sort of a pathetic pleading voice over the rise of the far right, the rise of hatred, far right, quick shot of Hitler, quick shot, and so on it goes, and you can tell that the propaganda is going to gush out of this thing, and so it does. Now, at that point, you just press pause, as I did. You get the name of it's a so-called documentary. It's not a fucking documentary. It's hysterical propaganda, and you have a look at who are the people that made it, who funded it, who scripted it. Quick on within a few minutes, you can find all that out. By the way, so you don't have to spend hours digging through. That's one of the great things about being online. And one of the world's foremost advocates for all third world peasants should and must be able to move to the first world. So third world peasants must be able to go to the first world without any restriction, without any limitation, without needing papers, without needing it. They just walk straight in, and it must be that way. And anyone that disagrees is a far right Nazi, quite possibly Hitler. So that's the starting position. And this guy is a huge advocate for that, and has been given very generously paid consultancies by the United Nations, George Soros Foundation, and various other activist NGOs. So this guy is he's rich. He'd be worth, conservatively, I'd say somewhere between 15 and 20 million. I mean, that's not super rich, but I mean, he's doing all right. All of this for being a mouthpiece activist propagandist for the globalist mass migration project, which is very central to the globalist project. Now, all the people who are involved are presented as reasonable, sensible, independent voices, experts. They're not activists. They've got nothing to do with activism. It's like they just came into the room 5 minutes ago and look at all these Nazis. Oh no. And we look at the script. I mean, the classic thing: the script writers are Jewish lesbians from New York, and gender studies academia. The whole thing. They're all activists. There's not a single independent voice there. And the editing and the gotcha questioning, somehow they supposedly get access to. Now, these are very well-known activists, by the way. So it would be so unlikely that they would get these sort of. So I don't know whether these are, FBI actors or something like that, but supposedly they get access to neo-Nazi groups, and they just go oh, so this is really dangerous here. Have you got guns? How many guns do you have? Have you killed anyone today? And the line of questioning is quite absurd. It's caricature type level of questioning, and they're not attempting to find out or discover anything. They're attempting to portray this idea that the world is awash with neo-Nazis and far-right fascists and so on. So because those people don't exist, they have to invent it. So they've got this ominous thing, sort of it's meant to be somewhere in the middle of the wilderness, and all these gun-toting Nazis and fascists everywhere. But somehow the guy doing the interview seems completely relaxed and very provocative in his line of questioning, that you wouldn't be if you thought you were in danger of your life. You wouldn't be behaving that way. So the guy's very laid back, and the people that he interviews with and again, the editing was heavy with gotcha questioning. So, and you can see the edits popping in and out and how they're doing it. So, so they'll delete the question that he asked. Do you think that illiterate, retarded peasants from the third world, from Haiti, do you see yourself as a white person as being superior to them? Oh yeah, I see that. So, and then they edit that around to make out like the guy's saying, well, the white people are the superior race. Hey, white supremacists, Nazi, Hitler. But really, it's they're just running around doing editing and gotcha questioning and that sort of stuff. Again, assuming these people are even genuine, which I don't believe. So, I mean, just consider this. Yeah, let's suppose you are a member of some sort of neo-Nazi group. Let's suppose. I don't believe they exist, but let's suppose you are. Now, whatever the supposed neo-Nazi group would support or represent or believe in is yet another matter. But let's suppose you are, and a well-known globalist, I hate white people, I hate Nazis, I hate this, I hate that, propagandist, activist contacts you and says they want to have an interview because they want to talk to you about your stuff. We'll be honest. We'll show it as it is. We won't do any edits. We won't do any cutting out. I mean, would you believe that for a second? I wouldn't. I don't know anybody who would. Now, maybe they recorded the whole thing, again, assuming it's genuine. But given how it went, I'm pretty convinced that those people were actors that were told to say provocative things. I love Hitler. Hitler is my friend. I'm holding up a Nazi flag. Let me do a Nazi salute for you. All captured on camera. See, we told you Nazis are real. We told you Hitler was real. Look, here's the proof. And it was just all too convenient. So I don't believe a word of it. But on the other side of it, the activists did give away their views. So, for example, all the illegal aliens that live in the United States or that are secreting themselves in the United States. Now, somewhere between, I think that the numbers vary, but somewhere between sort of 12 and 20 million, but probably more into that. Some are even saying that given the last couple of years that it's probably closer to 30 million. But anyway, assuming it's for example, let's pick around number 10 million. The India says, well, look, there are so many people here illegally, or undocumented, whatever the term is. Why don't we just forget about, why don't we just not worry about them? Just give them all citizenship and be done with it. Do you have a problem with that, Mr. fucking fascist, fucking far-right Nazi? And the guy says, well, quite reasonable, well, they're here illegally, so, they should be deported. Deported? You mean you're going to deport little brown and black girls, little girls dressed in pink? You're going to do that, you fucking fascist Nazi. So that was sort of the direction of the conversation. But it was nothing but pure propaganda. These fascist Nazi far-right, they just don't exist. And then they try and depict anyone that wants to have any limitation on immigration, anything at all, is Hitler. So they have this jump. Now, this stuff is compulsory. It's distributed around high schools and colleges and so on. it's blatant propaganda, but it didn't present it that way. No, I wouldn't mind so much if the presentation was, this is a propaganda movie made by hardcore activists who believe that, third world peasants have the right to stroll into the United States at any time. Now, they will depress your wages. They will take your jobs. They will break down the rule of law, employment contracts, all these sort of things will suffer. And if you don't suffer today, you will tomorrow. But just remember that, by the way, these people are activists. This is funded by activist groups, who are trying to break down the Western, to present it as it is, and then put forward another movie which says, or documentary, which shows how, my name is Jose. I willfully broke the law. I knew I was breaking the law. I got a job at the meat packing factory. They pay me under the table illegally, and a couple of black guys got fired, and I got their job. If they presented it like that and had both the movies running, and the students could watch both, but it's a carefully curated narrative that goes in one way and one way only, and that's to support the globalist narrative. And that's of course the problem I have with it. There's no alternative point of view presented. Anyone who does have an alternative point of view is presented as a Nazi, if not Hitler. So that's the. Now, I guess years ago I didn't. I could sort of see this starting to pick. Again, I was doing a lot of international travel, and so I noticed how the editorials were quite coordinated and very tightly scripted around a certain narrative. It was starting to develop. It wasn't sort of omnipresent like it is today, but you could see it starting to develop. So I sort of looked at that and thought, is this an aberration? Is it a trend or what? No, I was sitting, I think it was in JFK Airport in New York, and I was waiting to get a flight to London, and I happened in the bar waiting for the flight. I happened to end up sitting next to a bunch of guys who were documentary makers, and they were making wildlife documentaries, and they'd just been, I think it was they'd been to talk to the people who were funding it or part funding it and the documentary, and they were given instructions as to what they had to edit out and how they had to edit it and that sort of thing. So now these guys weren't political at all. They weren't left or right. They were just ordinary dudes, like white guys and middle-aged. They were older than I think they were all older than me at the time. I would have been sort of late 20s, I guess, at the time. And so they were talking about, and they mentioned something like how a radical feminist butch dyke lesbian had been telling them how they had to edit it, and they thought this was rather funny. What she knew nothing about wildlife or about animals or about, but she was telling them how they had to edit it in order to present a particular sociological or political view, and they thought this was odd for a wildlife documentary. Why would you do this to a wildlife documentary, for goodness sakes? If it was about sort of politics maybe or something like that, you might, but they were trying to inject gender activism into a wildlife documentary, and this was a documentary that children would look at, and it was going to get put into schools. And apparently this butch dyke said something along those lines, that it's going to, kids are going to see in schools, and we want a certain narrative or it's the effect of, we want a certain narrative that's pushed. And I've mentioned this before, but these guys were, the documentary was about, I think it was about a certain sort of goat, Arctic goat in the, like in Canada somewhere, I think it was. I'll use goat, maybe it was something else, but it was that sort of thing, a small Arctic goat. And during the calving season, when the I don't know, baby goats, whatever you call them, get born, there's a fox or a certain, I think it's a predator of some sort. I think it was a fox that comes along trying to get an easy meal. So the female goats and the foxes are more or less evenly matched, and so the female goat gets the young one to stay in like a thicket of grass or something like that, and then tries to make it deter the fox from taking it any further. And they were talking about this. So in one scene, or one thing they were shooting, that the female, the juvenile goat that's supposed to stay in the grass, panics and bolts for it. So the fox goes after that and gets out in front of the female goat. But around this same time, the herd bull, the bull goat, I don't know if you call goats bulls, the bull goat appears on the scene, and with its serious horns and all that sort of stuff, appears on the scene and sees what's going on, and then starts to chase the fox. Now it's the fox's turn to panic. The bull goat will kill the fox if it can, and it's got the weaponry to do it. So the bull goat's chasing the fox away, and all is saved, and the baby goat is rescued. But they specifically were told to cut that scene out because it makes males look good, makes males seem powerful. It makes female goats, thus women, feel reduces their status, if you like, in the overall scheme of things. So they were told any scene that makes male goats look good, or by extension male humans, in the way they wanted to push it, because they're going to push it at kids, had to be deleted out. If there was a scene where the male goat was protecting the female, and you could see the male goat's scrotum, then that had to be taken out. But if the male goat could be in a distant shot, you couldn't tell it was a male, so that had to be scripted, that it was the female that had done this, that she had done this or achieved that, or so and so. So the lies and the deception and duplicity. Remember, this is just a fucking wildlife documentary. And I was amazed by this. Why would they go to these lengths? Why would they do that? I mean, it's a wildlife documentary, for fuck's sake. But it shows how long it's been in the works, that the extent of the propaganda, the amount of lies at all levels. So it's going wildlife documentaries, anything that kids watch. Could be kids' cartoons, it could be Disney, it could be anything. There is just a never-ending wall and stream of propaganda from the time a kid gets to 3 years old to right through to adulthood, and goes on from there. And the effect of this is I think, terrible, because it's a total deviation from natural organic development of humans and the natural sort of social status, social arrangements made. It's nothing other than a total attempt to artificially reconstruct society along insane ideological lines. And now this is something where this is a battle or a struggle or a war or whatever you want to call it, a turf battle, that the people on the globalist side of things are winning hands down. They're prepared to put vast resources into this. They're prepared to load the dice and mark the cards in every way conceivable or imaginable. And there's hardly anything pushing back against it, other than YouTubers doing content on their kitchen table or something. But this needs to. We really need to think about this and say, no, we need to have a war chest, and a big one, that pumps out documentaries, that does the other side of the story, or provides a neutral view, or shows the extent to which these insane propagandists are attempting to tell lies upon lies upon lies upon lies in order to subvert our society and its social structure. If the society is so bad, you don't need to tell lies about it. You can just point out the truths. And if it's not, then why are you doing this? So we need to have, I think, our own counter-propaganda machine that runs against this, and not only shows the flaws in it, but points out the lies and to say that if any school or university or college or any institution wants to show one side, they have to show the other, and if they don't, they'll be denied all funding. Now, I don't even know if that's possible, and I think maybe we've already gone to a stage that's past that sort of reasonableness, but there has to be a response to this, because the moment they comply their propaganda pretty much without any response, and they're sucking in millions and millions of kids across the Western world are being drawn to this. Only a tiny proportion of those kids will ever develop the intellectual skills to ask the question. Say, hold on a minute, that doesn't add up. Why would that so-called Nazi agree to meet one of the world's foremost anti-Nazi campaigners? Hey, that doesn't seem to make sense. Why is the person that is scripting this a radical activist and so on, and that sort of thing? Not many people are going to develop those skills, but goodness me, we need it. You've been a Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.